Everybody started mowing their grass, so I'm going to finish in here. I tried to write that theme when I got home. I really did, mostly because Derry told me to, or else. I thought about writing about Dad, but I couldn't. It's going to be a long time before I can even think about my parents. A long time. I tried writing about Soda's horse, Mickey Mouse, but I couldn't get it right. It always came out sounding corny. So I started writing names across the paper. Daryl Shane Curtis Jr., Soda Patrick Curtis, Ponyboy Michael Curtis. Then I drew horses all over it. That was going to get a good grade like all get out. Hey, did the mail come in yet? Soda slammed the door and yelled for the mail just the way he does every day when he comes home from work. I was in the bedroom, but I knew he would throw his jacket toward the sofa and miss it, take off his shoes, and go into the kitchen for a glass of chocolate milk, because that's what he does every day of his life. He always runs around in his stocking feet. He doesn't like shoes. Then he did a funny thing. He came in and flopped down on the bed and started smoking a cigarette. He hardly ever smokes except when something's really bugging him or when he wants to look tough. And he doesn't have to impress us. We know he's tough. So I figured something was bothering him. How was work? Okay. Something wrong? He shook his head. I shrugged and went back to drawing horses. Soda cooked dinner that night and everything came out right. That was unusual because he always was trying something different. One time we had green pancakes, green. I can tell you one thing. If you've got a brother like Soda Pop, you're never bored. All through supper, Soda was quiet and he didn't eat much. That was really unusual.
Can I have a popsicle?
Sure. Most of the time, you can't shut him up or fill him up. Derry didn't seem to notice, so I didn't say anything. Then after supper, me and Derry got into a fuss about the fourth one we'd had that week. This one started because I hadn't done anything on that theme and I wanted to go for a ride. It used to be I'd just stand there and let Derry yell at me, but lately I'd been yelling right back. What's this sweat about my schoolwork? I finally shouted. I'll have to get a job as soon as I get out of school anyway. Look at Soda. He's doing okay and he dropped out. You can just lay off. You're not going to drop out. Listen, with your brains and grades, you could get a scholarship and we could get you through college. Ponyboy, schoolwork's not the point. You're living in a vacuum. Pony, you're going to have to cut it out. Johnny and Dallas were our buddies too, but you don't just stop living because you lose someone. I thought you knew that by now. You don't quit. And anytime you don't like the way I'm running things, you can get out. I went tight and cold. We never talked about Dallas or Johnny. You'd like that, wouldn't you? You'd like me to get out. Well, it's not that easy, is it, Soda? But when I looked at Soda, I stopped. His face was white, and when he looked at me, his eyes were wide with a pained expression. I suddenly remembered Curly Shepherd's face when he slipped off a telephone pole and broke his arm. Don't. Oh, you guys, why can't you? He jumped up suddenly and bolted out the door. Derry and I were struck dumb. Derry picked up the envelope that Soda had dropped. It's the letter he wrote Sandy, Derry said without expression. Returned unopened. So that was what had been bugging Soda all afternoon. And I hadn't even bothered to find out. And while I was thinking about it, I realized that I never paid much attention to Soda's problems. Derry and I just took it for granted that he didn't have any. When Sandy went to Florida, it wasn't Soda, Ponyboy. He told me he loved her, and I guess she didn't love him like he thought she did because it wasn't him. You don't have to draw me a picture, I said. He wanted to marry her anyway, but she just left. Derry was looking at me with a puzzled expression. Why didn't he tell you? I didn't think he'd tell Steve or Two-Bit, but I thought he told you everything. Maybe he tried, I said. How many times had Soda started to tell me something only to find out I was daydreaming or stuck in a book? He would always listen to me no matter what he was doing. He cried every night that week you were gone, Derry said slowly. Both you and Sandy in the same week? He put the envelope down. Come on, let's go after him. We chased him clear to the park. We were gaining on him, but he had a block's head start. Circle around and cut him off, Derry ordered. Even out of condition, I was the best runner. I'll stay right behind him. I headed through the trees and cut him off halfway across the park. He veered off to the right, but I caught him in a flying tackle before he'd gone more than a couple of steps. It knocked the wind out of both of us. We lay there gasping for a minute or two, and then Soda sat up and brushed the grass off his shirt. You should have gone out for football instead of track. Where did you think you were going? I lay flat on my back and looked at him. Derry came up and dropped down beside us. Soda shrugged. I don't know, it's just, I can't stand to hear y'all fight. Sometimes I just have to get out, or it's like I'm the middleman in a tug of war and I'm being split in half. You dig? Derry gave me a startled look. Neither of us had realized what it was doing to Soda to hear us fight. I was sick with cold and shame. What he said was the truth. Derry and I did play tug of war with him, with never a thought to how much it was hurting him. Soda was fiddling with some dead grass. I mean, I can't take sides. It'd be a lot easier if I could, but I see both sides. Derry yells too much and tries too hard and takes everything too serious. And Ponyboy, you don't think enough. You don't realize all Derry's giving up just so you have a chance he missed out on. He could have stuck you in a home somewhere and worked his way through college. Ponyboy, I'm telling you the truth. I dropped out because I'm dumb. I really did try in school, but you saw my grades. Look, I'm happy working in a gas station with cars. You'd never be happy doing something like that. And Derry, you ought to try to understand him more and quit bugging him about every little mistake he makes. He feels things differently than you do. He gave us a pleading look. Golly, you two, it's bad enough having to listen to it, but when you start trying to get me to take sides? Tears welled up in his eyes. We're all we've got left. We ought to be able to stick together against everything. If we don't have each other, we don't have anything. If you don't have anything, you end up like Dallas. And I don't mean dead either. I mean like he was before. And that's worse than dead. Please. He wiped his eyes on his arm. Don't fight anymore. Derry looked real worried. I suddenly realized that Derry was only 20. That he wasn't so much older that he couldn't feel scared or hurt and as lost as the rest of us. I saw that I had expected Derry to do all the understanding without even trying to understand him. And he had given up a lot for Soda and me. Sure, little buddy, Derry said softly. We're not going to fight anymore. Hey, Ponyboy, Soda gave me a tearful grin. Don't you start crying too. One ball baby in the family's enough. I'm not crying, I said, but maybe I was. I don't remember. Soda gave me a playful punch on the shoulder. No more fights, okay, Ponyboy? Derry said. Okay, I said, and I meant it. Derry and I would probably still have misunderstandings. We were too different not to, but no more fights. We couldn't do anything to hurt Soda. Soda Pop would always be the middleman, but that didn't mean he had to keep getting pulled apart. Instead of Derry and me pulling him apart, he'd be pulling us together. Well, Soda said, I'm cold. How about going home? Race you, I challenged, leaping up. It was a real nice night for a race. The air was clear and cold and so clean it almost sparkled. The moon wasn't out, but the stars lit up everything. It was quiet except for the sound of our feet on the cement and the dry scraping sound of leaves blowing across the street. It was a real nice night. I guess I was still out of shape because we all three tied. No, I guess we all just wanted to stay together. I still didn't want to do my homework that night, though. I hunted around for a book to read, but I read everything in the house about 50 million times, even Derry's copy of The Carpetbaggers, though he told me I wasn't old enough to read it. I thought so, too, after I finished it. Finally, I picked up Gone with the Wind and looked at it for a long time. I knew Johnny was dead. I had known it all the time, even while I was sick and pretending he wasn't. It was Johnny, not me, who had killed Bob. I knew that too. I just thought that maybe if I played like Johnny wasn't dead, it wouldn't hurt so much. The way Two-Bit, after the police had taken Dally's body away, had griped because he lost his switchblade when they searched Dallas. Is that all that's bothering you, the switchblade? A red-eyed Steve had snapped at him. No, Two-Bit had said with a quivering sigh, but that's what I'm wishing was all that's bothering me. But it still hurt anyway. You know a guy a long time, and I mean, really know him? You don't get used to the idea that he's dead just overnight. Johnny was something more than a buddy to all of us. I guess he'd listened to more beefs and more problems from more people than any of us. A guy that'll really listen to you, listen and care about what you're saying is something rare. And I couldn't forget him telling me that he hadn't done enough, hadn't been out of the neighborhood all his life. And then it was too late. I took a deep breath and opened the book. A slip of paper fell out on the floor and I picked it up. Pony Boy, I asked a nurse to give you this book so you could finish it. It was Johnny's handwriting. I went on reading, almost hearing Johnny's quiet voice. The doctor came in a while ago, but I knew anyway. I keep getting tireder and tireder. Listen, I don't mind dying now. It's worth it. It's worth saving those kids. Their lives are worth more than mine. They have more to live for. Some of their parents came by to thank me, and I know it was worth it. Tell Dally it's worth it. I'm just going to miss you guys. I've been thinking about it. In that poem, that guy that wrote it, he meant you're gold when you're a kid, like green. When you're a kid, everything's new, dawn. It's just when you get used to everything that it's day. Like the way you dig sunsets, Pony. That's gold. Keep that way. It's a good way to be. I want you to tell Dally to look at one. He'll probably think you're crazy, but ask for me. I don't think he's ever really seen a sunset. And don't be so bugged over being a greaser. You still have a lot of time to make yourself be what you want. There's still lots of good in the world. Tell Dally. I don't think he knows. Your buddy, Johnny. Tell Dally. It was too late to tell Dally. Would he have listened? I doubted it. Suddenly, it was only a personal thing to me. I could picture hundreds and hundreds of boys living on the wrong sides of cities. Boys with black eyes who jumped at their own shadows. Hundreds of boys who maybe watched sunsets and looked at stars and ached for something better. I could see boys going down under streetlights because they were mean and tough and hated the world, and it was too late to tell them there was still good in it, and they wouldn't believe you if you did. It was too vast a problem to just be a personal thing. There should be some help. Someone should tell them before it was too late. Someone should tell their side of the story. Maybe people would understand then and wouldn't be so quick to judge a boy by the amount of hair oil he wore. It was important to me. I picked up the phone book and called my English teacher. Mr. Syme, this is Pony Boy. That theme, how long can it be? Why, not less than 5 pages. He sounded a little surprised. I'd forgotten it was late at night. Can it be longer? Certainly, Pony Boy, as long as you want it. Thanks, I said and hung up. I sat down and picked up my pen and thought for a minute, remembering a handsome, dark boy with a reckless grin and a hot temper. A tough, tow-headed boy with a cigarette in his mouth and a bitter grin on his hard face. Remembering, and this time, it didn't hurt, a quiet, defeated-looking 16-year-old whose hair needed cutting badly and who had black eyes with a frightened expression to them. 1 week had taken all 3 of them. And I decided I could tell people, beginning with my English teacher. I wondered for a long time how to start that theme, how to start writing about something that was important to me. And I finally began like this. When I stepped out into the bright sunlight from the darkness of the movie house, I had only 2 things on my mind: Paul Newman and a ride home.